Thank you for coming today. Okay, so today's topic, we're going to talk about how to overcome your post-Ramadan blues. I'm sure I'm not the only person who feels this, that after Ramadan we start to feel a little bit spiritually down. We start to feel a little bit down, we start to feel a little bit sad, and we feel like we're missing a little bit of the spirituality and a little bit of the community. So today we're going to talk a little bit about like what practical steps we can take to feel better and to also reconnect with our spirituality, inshallah. So you might be asking yourself, like, why do I feel this way? And it's very normal, by the way, for you to feel like a little bit of a dip in your spirituality after Ramadan, because obviously during Ramadan, we're doing so much. We're coming to the masjid, we're reading Quran, we're like fasting, we're doing overtime worship, right? And we don't normally do that in our day-to-day, which is totally fine. So don't beat yourself up about that. And then obviously we have work, we have families, so we're transitioning back into our regular routine. We can't sustain, coming to the masjid every day, staying up all night long. It's just not realistic, right? And so that's kind of where we start to feel that. Also, we're not seeing the same people we used to every day. We would come to the masjid and see our friends and family, and we're not doing that as much, right? So we're going to talk about what steps you can take to sort of combat this and feel a little bit better, and then also build yourself towards the next Ramadan. So the first thing you have to do is give yourself grace, be kind to yourself, be realistic, okay? There is no way we could maintain the same spiritual momentum that we had in Ramadan in your day-to-day life. And that's with anything. It doesn't even have to be with religion. It could be with work, with health. Like, you're not going to go to the gym and give 150% every single day of your life. You're going to have days where you're not feeling it, you're going to feel down, you're going to feel up. So be fair to yourself, right? The point of Ramadan is that it's supposed to be special, right? It's a special time of year. There's a lot of blessings in it. It is supposed to feel different than the rest of the year. So if we were trying to keep that high going the entire year, it wouldn't be different. It wouldn't be special. So you're not, doing anything wrong. There's nothing necessarily wrong with you because you're not feeling the same way you felt during Ramadan. It's totally normal. But the whole point of Ramadan is that you're supposed to go in trying to improve yourself and trying to be a better person, right? So let's say you start Ramadan at 20%. And then you go in, Ramadan, you're performing at like 80, 90%, you're on top of everything, you're killing it, you're coming to the masjid every day, you're praying tarawih, right? And then after Ramadan, you go down to like 60%. So in your head, you're thinking, oh shoot, like I'm not doing what I used to, I lost 30%, but you're not looking at the 40% that you gained, right? You're a better person coming out of it than you were going in. So if you did do that, if you were able to either create a new good habit or a good deed, or you were able to give up a bad deed or a sin, then alhamdulillah, your Ramadan was successful, right? And that can help you kind of understand that you can be excited, you can be happy. There's no need to feel down just because you're not doing what you did in Ramadan, right? And so, like I said before, it's not realistic to maintain the same spiritual high. It's just not going to happen. So give yourself credit and don't stress out about that. As far as your day-to-day stuff, right? There's a few things you can do to reconnect spiritually to still feel that Ramadan vibe. It's different person to person. Some people really like the fasting aspect of Ramadan. They feel really connected when they fast. So you could do that. There is something called the 6 days of Shawwal. So for those who don't know, Ramadan is a month on the Islamic calendar. Shawwal is the month right after. So we are in Shawwal right now. And the 6 days of Shawwal are just special days. You don't have to do them in a row. It doesn't have to be consecutive. You could do like a couple days here, 2 days there. But the idea is that you have the whole month to fast these 6 days. If you do fast them, you get rewarded as if you fasted for a whole year. So that's the benefit of doing the 6 days of Shawwal, right? Some people really like that. If you're really, really good and you're really strong and you love to fast, you could always try to implement the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, which was that he would fast every Monday and Thursday. Now I'm gonna be real with you guys, I'm not that strong. May Allah make me strong, but I love my coffee, I love my water, so I'm not good with the Mondays and Thursdays. Inshallah, one day, may Allah make it easier for me. But some people really connect with fasting. They feel better about themselves when they do it. So that's a great habit to have. And then if you do implement it, inshallah, by the time Ramadan comes around again, you're gonna be a pro. Fasting is gonna come so easy to you because you've been doing it all year round, right? Other stuff we do during Ramadan, a lot of people focus on Quran. Some people try to do a whole chapter every day so that they can finish the whole Quran by the end of Ramadan because it's 30 chapters, right? Some people can do that in their day-to-day. Some of us are not able to do that, right? Sometimes we have too much going on. It's hard to commit to a full chapter. It needs time. But what you can keep doing is you can do a little bit of Quran every single day. And I would recommend that you start your day with it, right? Good 10 minutes. You just set it every single day in your routine. You sit aside some time to either read it or listen to it. And inshallah, you will feel a really good effect from that because you're starting off your day by feeding your soul. You're never going to fail by starting off your days with the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I think this is a very beautiful way to keep your spirituality high. There's no such thing as a perfect day, but you will perceive your day differently when you're constantly feeding yourself like that. The other thing that we do during Ramadan a lot is called dhikr. Dhikr is the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's where you're constantly saying things that remind you of Allah. So like subhanallah, alhamdulillah, astaghfirullah, things like that. There are certain supplications that are for the morning. You have like morning supplications and evening ones. If that's something that you committed to during Ramadan, keep it going. It takes, I think, like 15-20 minutes of your day when you decide to do it. Or let's say you were doing a lot of istighfar during Ramadan, you're asking for forgiveness, you're saying astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Maybe you don't have to do as much as you were doing in Ramadan, but maybe you sit with yourself and you say, okay, I'm going to commit 10 minutes of my day every day where I'm going to sit and I'm going to ask Allah for forgiveness. I'm going to do 100 istighfar, right? And just 100 of sincere, genuine connection and sincere reflection, right? That will make a huge difference in your day. The other thing that I think we underestimate, that I actually think is my favorite type of worship, is dua. We tend to have this misconception that Ramadan is the only time to make dua. It's when everything is accepted, and that's because we're fasting. There's Laylatul Qadr, there's the last 10 days. So we're like, yep, this is where I'm going to push all my dua. But the reality is that there is plenty of opportunity for your dua throughout the year. First of all, there are other opportunities where dua is more likely to be accepted. On Fridays, there's a certain window of time. A lot of scholars differ on it, but some say that it's closer to between Asr and Maghrib, that there's an hour where all dua is accepted. In Qiyam al-Layl, which is the last third of the night before Fajr, if you wake up, you make dua at that time. It's known as the arrow that doesn't miss its target. It's known that your dua will be accepted, right? And there's when it's raining, and there's so many opportunities. But the truth of dua is, regardless of these times, even if you don't catch these times of acceptance, you could have your dua accepted at any point. It could just be a moment of sincere feeling and intention where I'm sitting in my car and I'm really speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and it's just coming straight from my heart, and there you go, your dua is accepted right then and there. It's not conditioned, right? You can make dua at any time. And what I personally love about dua is that you don't have to remember any specific lines. It can be as informal as you want it to be. You just talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and inevitably when you talk to Allah, you're going to continue to build a connection with Allah. You take one step towards Allah, He's going to come running to you. So dua is excellent. I would make it a part of your day. Just at the end of your night, sit with yourself and just say, Allah, this is what I'm going through, this is what I want, or this is what I need. The only one who can fix your life or do the things that you need to do is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So always maintain dua. Don't leave it just for Ramadan, right? So during Ramadan, obviously, you might develop some of these habits. Maybe you started waking up for tahajjud during Ramadan and you want to keep that going. I would say pick one or two habits that you really, really love, that you feel like, okay, I want to consistently do this good deed. Doesn't have to be big, guys. It can be very small, can be very basic, but it's something I'm going to do every day and I'm going to commit to it, right? And you hold on to it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves small deeds that are consistent. Every single day I'm committing to it. Those are very, very valuable. So I would say keep that going. That's going to keep the momentum going on in your day-to-day. The other thing that is huge that I think a lot of us don't pay attention to is community is a big deal. In this religion, community and companionship, good companionship, is heavily emphasized, right? We are social creatures. And naturally, we want to be around people. Even if you're an introvert, to some extent, you still want to have friends, you still want to have family, right? Close people to you. And so a lot of the reason why you feel so good in Ramadan is because you're surrounded by other people. You come to the masjid, right? You're having iftar here, you're going to tarawih. Even if you're not necessarily talking to specific people, you're just seeing the same faces, there's familiarity, there's warmth, everyone around you is praying with you, you're all listening to Quran at the same time. There's a natural bond there, right? Because we're all doing the worship together, and you feel it with the sisters that you're standing next to in prayer, or the sister that's, giving out tea during the iftar time. You feel that when we're volunteering in the kitchen and we're helping each other create plates, right? It's important to maintain that connection. The masjid is a very beautiful place, and it's a very special place. I know we're a smaller community here in Vegas, so maybe we don't have as many events or as many activities as other places, but the few times that we do have activities, I would say take advantage of it. Like Oasis does, 1 to 2 events a month. Go to those, right? You're going to see other Muslims, and naturally you're going to feel a little bit more connected because you're spending time with people that share the same values as you, that are going to encourage you. Pick a day with your friends to go to the masjid and maybe just hang out here. You'll have good vibes. I would say if you can commit to a salah at the masjid, that's awesome. I know we're all busy and stuff, so maybe Aisha prayer could be one, or if you go to the Friday prayer every Friday. We're not required as women to go to Jumu'ah prayer, but it's still a nice feeling. You sit, you listen to the khutbah, you make some dua, maybe you'll meet some people, maybe you don't, you just be in there with your sisters. So I think it's very important to maintain your connection with your Muslim friends. and to continue to come to the masjid as much as you can. And there are two ahadith that I want to just kind of talk about where the Rasul told us about the importance of good companionship, right? And so he says that you are of the religion of your closest friend, so be very careful who you choose to surround yourself with, right? Naturally, the people that hang around me are the people that are going to rub off on me. You know, I think people have heard this sometimes, like when you tell young people, do you want to be successful, or if you want to be a millionaire, go sit with successful people, go spend time with millionaires, and it's going to rub off on you naturally. This is kind of what it's talking about, right? If I surround myself with good Muslim friends, they're going to influence me. It's going to be harder for me to transgress or to do the wrong thing when I'm surrounded by people that are all encouraging me to do the right thing, right? And vice versa as well. If I surround myself with negative people or people who are a bad influence, whether it's, doing something haram or even just, gossiping, whatever, you're gonna naturally fall into that. You can't resist it forever. So your closest friends, you really should analyze them and look at who you're surrounding yourself with, right? The other example that was given to us in another hadith is where the Rasul compares a good companion to a perfume seller and a bad companion to a blacksmith. And what that means is if I'm spending my whole day with someone who sells perfume, eventually I'm either going to buy the perfume from them or I'm going to start to smell like perfume because I'm spending all day in the perfume shop. So that good smell, again, is going to rub off on you. If I go to a blacksmith, first of all, I'm not going to wear all white because naturally I'm going to get soot all over me, I'm going to get nasty stuff all over me, I'm going to smell like fire and all kinds of crap, right? And that's because that's how it happens, right? So even with good companions, you could get a good influence. With bad companions, you could have a negative influence. So it's very important to pay attention to that. So again, this religion is not meant to be practiced in isolation. We are supposed to be active members of the community. We're supposed to see each other, engage with each other. It doesn't have to be every single day, but create some frequency in your life where you get to do this, okay? And then the next thing and the final thing I will say is that don't forget that there's another Ramadan coming, right? I know it went just now, but now we've got another year to prepare for it. So start setting your goals. Maybe you had a goal for yourself this Ramadan that you didn't achieve. Maybe you were like, oh shoot, I really did want to finish a chapter each day, but I didn't do it this year. Well, it's okay, set it for next year. Start preparing mentally what you think you can achieve for next year. And I would say start building the baby steps towards that. You can make little milestones for yourself. So let's say I want to do a chapter of Quran every day next Ramadan. All right, I'm going to commit to doing 10 ayahs or a page every single day till the next one. So by the time I get there, I've become very comfortable with it. It's become part of my routine. So it's not going to be that hard for me to implement it, right? So I think that's a great way to keep it going. And Allahumma balighna Ramadan, say Ameen. And that means that may Allah, inshallah, bring us to the next Ramadan next year. And that was the end of my presentation. So I left room for any takeaways you might have or any questions you might have. Full disclosure, I'm not a sheikha, so if there's any major religious questions, if I don't know how to answer them, I'm going to tell you, and I'll refer you to Sheikh Shamsuddin for that. But I'm just curious to hear your guys' thoughts, or if you have any suggestions on what you think works for building your spirituality.